Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So here is the Whistle series on gender equality called The Baggage. We are speaking to Ingrid Hesselman. She's working in the Office of the Ombudsman. We are talking particularly about legal instruments in social justice, one of them being the protection order. Hi, Ingrid. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to talk to you.
So, Ingrid, tell us, what is a protection order?
A protection order is essentially a court order that a person who is the victim of domestic violence or even somebody who's threatened with domestic violence can get. And the purpose of it is to prohibit the offending person or the perpetrator um, to, to, to continue with the domestic violence. So it can be where the court orders something like restriction of access to a building or a workplace or the home of the person who's applying for the protection order.
So can you just explain to me how does one apply for it in very layman's term, and also what is the difference between an interim and a final order?
So the Combating of Domestic Violence Act was drafted with regard to the provisions of protection orders in a way to make it very easily accessible to people. So you simply go to a magistrate's court, any magistrate's court in any town, and then you ask to apply for one. There should be a clerk of court that's supposed to assist you to complete the forms, and then if you can show significant reason for an interim order to be issued, then the interim order will be issued. So the interim order is basically an emergency measure. So if you are experiencing immediate harm and you feel that your life or your possessions or your children's lives or possessions are being threatened, then the court will issue an immediate or an interim order. It's not very often immediate, um, but then because our law has this principle that the other party must always be heard, that is why it's only an interim order. So what happens after that is that that person, the other person against whom you're seeking the protection order, will be notified and given a court date to come and say his side of the story. And then depending on what transpires there at that hearing, the order will either be set aside or it will be made final.
So there's a concern that even if there's a final order, it is often not strong enough. So what are the limitations, and what are what is it that once I have secured an order, what are the things that I need to do to make sure that order is effective?
So the order at the end of the day is only like basically in domestic violence setting. When you go and ask for that order, you are essentially inviting the criminal justice system or the legal system into your home private life. So that is the purpose of it. But it in order to be effective, it needs to be implemented properly. So um, what that means is that once you have the order, you must also employ your social network, your family, your friends. You must go and inform your employer about the protection order, your children's school, for instance, your friends, and your family, so that everybody knows that there is this protection order, because abuse flourishes in silence. So, and keep records of everything. Keep a copy of the protection order with you at all times. If there is any type of violation, you have to report it immediately. And you have to document things very carefully. Like, for instance, if you have injuries or the phone calls are being made, you're being harassed on the phone or things like that. So documenting everything and involving a support system. And a support system can also go beyond friends and family by also seeking counsel.